What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're taking a look at a Great League team, and this is the team I've been mainly using on and off for my battles most days through this season so far, just to get my battles done, grind some wins and work my way up towards rank 20 to start getting those legendary encounters. Now, we did get a very high starting ELO. As far as I'm aware, it's a high starting ELO, and you'll be seeing what that is a little later on at the end of this first set of battles. And this high starting ELO has been despite tanking quite a lot of losses. You guys might have seen my first video from the season where we used a lot of different experimental teams and we took a lot of L's just trying to use a few like Mimi teams and things like that, and just experimenting with some pretty unbalanced teams and taking a lot of losses in our first few sets that we've definitely made up for on the grind up to rank 20 and still managed to come out with a solid ELO. Just wanted to start the video off with a quick little bit of a fashion show from mixing and matching some of the legend rank poses and outfits that we've unlocked from previous seasons, since we did just unlock the Lysandre gloves for this season. So we've put them on and then mixed and matched some other bits to make a new outfit. We do like flexing some of those legend outfits and poses when we get them and shaking them up and representing as many of them as possible. And also quickly wanted to share with you guys that I did finally manage to get myself a shiny Zekram and a shiny Reshiram. They've been in raids for a little while now, and I was grinding not super hard, but it took me around 50 plus raids of each to get a shiny. As you can see, I've had over 150 XL candy of both of these Pokemon, and it took me that many raids just to get a shiny of each. So pretty unlucky, I would say, considering the odds are supposed to be around 1 in 20. But also, it's not the worst luck. I know some people can literally do hundreds of raids and not get these shinies. Some people really do draw the short straw, and I do sympathize with you guys. But also, we got super lucky with a raid. We did a Drudigon raid and got this hundo. So shout out for the Australian raid invite that got me this. Super happy with this. I might max it out, I might not, we'll see. I'm a bit short on resources at the minute, but I'll probably get round to it at some point. Alright, now let's talk about today's team. This is going to be an Umbreon lead team, and you guys know that I love Umbreon on the lead. I've made a few videos talking about Umbreon specific play in the Great League. I did an analysis on whether I thought Last Resort or Psychic was a better legacy charge move for Umbreon. There'll be a link somewhere in the description down to that video, or a card somewhere on screen here right now. But we are settling for Last Resort with this team for this video. And also in the back, we're going to be running Venusaur. This is Legacy Venusaur with Frenzy Plant. Venusaur is very strong, but you really do want Frenzy Plant to get a lot better play out of it in the Great League and Ultra League. And then we've also got an Azumaril. This is an XL Azumaril. It's not the best XL Azumaril you can have. It is 5 attack, but still it's a very, very strong XL build. And XL is just generally better than a regular if you can make one, but still regular Azumaril does work fine. Now, I do think you need specifically Ice Beam and Play Rough on this team and not Hydro Pump. Each move's good and has its own play in different teams, but you're going to be sometimes utilising this Azumaril as a safe swap, so you want the Ice Beam for grass types, and also you need it to be able to deal with fighters quite efficiently, as well as some dark types, so you're going to want that Play Rough as well for that. So as you guys can probably tell, this is a pretty hard meta and pretty try-hard line. It's great for climbing, great for getting consistently good performance with. If you're enjoying the content, consider liking and subscribing, and let's jump into some battles. Okay, so the first matchup we've got is an Empoleon lead, and I consider this a good lead because Umbreon can strongly dominate switch advantage unless the Empoleon goes down shields to force that waterfall damage to grind down over time. So generally you're going to take switch advantage if you see an Empoleon lead. This opponent decides to swap out into a Mandibuzz, and this is absolutely perfect for this team. Azumaril does very, very well against Mandibuzz. You don't have to go for the Play Rough, you can just go for 2 Ice Beams and that should be enough. If they do let it through and you feel like it's not quite done half, you can go for a Play Rough after, and it will hit slightly harder and should make up that difference and still take them out. But I do recommend you just go straight for Ice Beam. This opponent's actually choosing to shield, which I wouldn't really recommend. It's a very negative situation to be in, having an Azumaril locked against your Mandibuzz. They're actually committing both shields. We still don't have to shield yet at this point. I feel like they're going to try and swap out and preserve the Mandibuzz. Yeah, they're going to swap back into Empoleon, and now we can actually swap Venusaur into this. And because we've actually got we've got 2 shield advantage, so what we can do is we can shield this up, because it'll be a Drill Peck probably, would have done pretty good super effective damage. But now we can farm up quite a bit of extra energy before we throw the Frenzy Plant to take them out. And now we've got almost a Sludge Bomb ready to throw at the Mandibles if it does come back in. It's probably got a fair bit of energy because it was stalling out the Azumaril quite well. And we're going to show this up just to get off the Sludge Bomb. I don't think the Aerial Ace would have taken us out. It is an absolutely appalling move. And we really would have been fine to let that go. I'm not sure if they're going to have a hard counter to Umbreon in the back, just because they pivoted to Mandibles out of Empoleon. But this is a bit of a mistake play from me in this match, I think, where we swap out aggressively to Azumaril to get an Ice Beam off and take them out, which I don't think is the best call, just because we would assume from how they've played that they have a hard counter to Umbreon in the back, and the energy on Azumaril would have been very well spent against that Ninetales. We could have got 2 Play Roughs off against that Ninetales. But also this isn't the worst situation, because although it's Charm, it is going to be digging in. They're probably going to be running Weather Ball and Psyshock as charge moves and not Dazzling Gleam. And if they are running Dazzling Gleam, they're not going to have time to get to it before we get to a last resort and do some good damage and take them out and take that win. I do think they played that well by trying to preserve the Mandibles. They did predict that we had a Grass type in the back that would have been weak to it, but at the same time we were in a strong position anyway, so it didn't particularly matter. Now, a Nidoqueen lead. I think this is a good lead just because it keeps it away from Azumaril, and I do recommend you build up slightly overcharging your foul plays just to threaten that you might have Psychic. Psychic wouldn't one-shot Nidoqueen from an Umbreon, and if it's a Shadow Nidoqueen, 2 foul plays will threaten to take them out. If it's a regular Nidoqueen, you're going to have to land 3. Last Resort does hit slightly harder, but it doesn't mean that you can only throw 2. You still would have to throw 3 charge moves. So you want to go straight foul play, but at the start, I would recommend building up a little bit extra energy and threatening the Psychic. Now, a lot of the Nidoqueens will play that way. They will do what that opponent did there, and they will throw a Poison Jab and then throw an Earth Power, which means they'll be able to take you out, and that's fine because we've got shield advantage. This Nidoqueen's spent, it's not going to be threatening Azumaril anymore, and a lot of teams that have Nidoqueen leads are weak to Azumaril in the back, and this opponent swaps out into an Umbreon, and so it's looking like they might be weak to Azumaril in the back. We're going to swap Azumaril into this because it means we can just take these last resorts, no problem. Doesn't matter if they've got Psychic or last resort, we can take them, no problem. We got Play Rough to hit pretty hard. We've still got shield advantage, and even if we take out this Umbreon and then the Nidoqueen comes in, it's so low that we'll be able to bubble them down anyway before they put that much work in. So going for the second Play Rough here, this is going to get the Umbreon very, very low. If it goes unshielded, it does. And now you see they swap back into Nidoqueen, but we can bubble down before they get another Poison Fang off. So Nidoqueen's gone. Azumaril's still got some health, it's still got 2 shields, it's still got some energy, and they've got Jellicent in the back, and now we can just bring in Venusaur into this. And this game is pretty much done. We can shield whatever they throw. The Frenzy Plant's going to hit like an absolute truck. Even if they do bait us with Bubble Beam and drop our attack, it's not going to matter. We're still going to be able to take them out, no problem. And then we're just going to be able to farm down that Umbreon. I think it might have a foul play's worth of energy, but it's not going to stop us. It would barely be enough to take out the Venusaur here. It doesn't matter, we get a Vine Whip through and take them out. GG. And that's a great thing about Umbreon, is if you catch a flying lead like Altaria or Skarmory, or a poison lead, you can deal with them, and then it keeps them away from your Venusaur or your Azumaril respectively. Now, Stunfisk lead, I find a little awkward with this team specifically, because you've got an Azumaril in the back, and most Stunfisk leads are preparing for an Azumaril, so they're often quite strong against Azumaril in the back, which can be quite difficult to deal with. So oftentimes your win condition in games with a Stunfisk lead is actually Venusaur. And the way I like to play a Stunfisk matchup with Umbreon on the lead is I like to shield. If they build up to an Earthquake, I like to shield the first move, because if you successfully shield an Earthquake, it puts you in quite a strong position to get a shield back or take them out. Whereas if they already land an Earthquake, or possibly 2, they're very likely to then try and bait you with a Rock Slide, and you really don't want to spend a shield on a Rock Slide with Umbreon. It's much better spent catching the Earthquake, blocking all that damage. It goes a long way, and a lot of people don't want to shield Umbreon. They feel like it's too bulky, it's not worth it, but I think it is in that position. I think preserving all that health on Umbreon goes a long way. Now, the reason we actually swapped in Azumaril into this Stunfisk is because we were expecting them to have a pretty hard Azumaril counter in the back that we wanted to pull out and see what they wanted to do with that, because we expect that Azumaril is going to go to waste on this team. And they actually had a Sableye they brought into it, and they did get a return off and take out the Azumaril, which isn't the worst thing because we can still bring in Umbreon here and put in some serious work against the Sableye. They swap out into a Medicham, which is a pretty solid answer to Umbreon. If they're running Ice Punch and Psychic, Umbreon can put a lot of work in against Medicham, because you don't have to really worry about shielding the charge moves, it's just the counter damage that's concerning. And we actually let that first move through from the Medicham, and that definitely secures the win for us there by just letting a power-up punch through. We shield another one, but it doesn't matter, we're going to get to this Frenzy Plant and do big damage and pretty much secure the win here in this game. Doesn't quite take out the Medicham, but they're not going to be able to take us. Well, actually, they probably had a move there, which could have been an Ice Punch, could have been a Psychic, and it would have taken us out there. So we just throw the Frenzy Plant, make sure we don't have to lose Venusaur, because that means that the energy that the Sableye has here either has to go to waste on Umbreon and we can farm down, or we get the foul play off and take them out, and either way, it's our win. GG. Now, there has been a recent spike in the last couple of seasons of teams that are triple weak to Azumaril, such as Bastiodon, Medicham, Sableye, and there with Stunfisk, Medicham, and Sableye. And the good thing about those teams is that Azumaril's always going to have some play, and also any team with Sableye on, Umbreon has good play against, and Venusaur does very well with Medicham. It can do quite well against Bastiodon if you give it just one shield to block one flamethrower. Now, in this matchup, I think this is the wrong way to play a Stunfisk lead. We actually swap a Venusaur in straight away, seeing what they want to do, and then seeing if we can line up Azumaril with the Stunfisk further on in the match. And oftentimes, a lot of Stunfisk leads struggle with Venusaur in the back, so you're definitely better off saving your Venusaur. I think the best way is to play out the Umbreon Stunfisk matchup and just hope that Venusaur can sweep in the back, because more often than not, it can. And in this game, it does kind of screw us quite heavily. So we end up shielding up a Rock Slide, which we had to at that point, otherwise it would have taken us out. And we're going to get this Frenzy Plant and either get switch advantage, but be down a shield, or force the last shield. They choose to let it go through when they bring in a Nidoqueen. And we're lucky that we're just able to get to this Frenzy Plant, because this is going to do big damage or level out those shields, which it does. And we're glad we're seeing this Nidoqueen here, because we can go toe-to-toe with Umbreon, rather than it being locked against Azumaril. And we're going to see what they've got in the back, but they might have another hard answer to Azumaril in the back, which is going to be quite unfortunate for us, since Venusaur spent. We're actually going to swap to Azumaril, because at that point we could have survived long enough to get to an Ice Beam and probably taken out the Venusaur. They choose to swap out of Nidoqueen against an Azumaril into Jellicent, and this is a Hex Jellicent. It's probably going to have Shadow Ball. It's going to do big damage, and what we need to do here is get to a Play Rough, and this isn't quite going to be enough to take them out. It's going to get them pretty low. They do sneak a Hex through, which is really unfortunate. Well, I don't think we're going to quite be able to bubble down, but what this means is that we can get maybe 1 or 2 Snarls if we're lucky worth of energy with Umbreon, and then throw a couple of moves at this Venusaur, this Nidoqueen. I'm getting myself a little confused there, and actually hopefully take the win here. You see that the foul play doesn't quite do half of the health that this Nidoqueen's got left. So really, I think the play here would actually have been to throw 2 Last Resorts. And now we're going to throw a Last Resort here, because it does a couple more HP worth of damage. And you can see the Nidoqueen survives with a smidge of health. And if we had enough energy to have thrown 2 Last Resorts, rather than a foul play and a Last Resort, if we'd have thrown 2 Last Resorts, we might have just taken it out and taken the win. But we live and learn. We played it a little bit wrong from the start, and I think we did well to push it that close. Alright, jumping into the last matchup before I show you guys the actual ELO rating that we got to start with. And here we've got an awful lead in Medicham. And if you see a Medicham lead, Venusaur is your best safe swap. Not many Medicham leads run flyers in the back. Some do, for sure. And then if you get locked down by a Scammer or something, you're really not looking good. But I think Venusaur is your better safe swap, because they probably have a pretty hard answer to an Azumaril safe swap, because it's such a common Pokemon to get swapped in against Medicham. Venusaur catches a lot of people off guard, and then once it gets a few Vomits worth of energy, it can be very difficult to deal with. So this Lickitung that they swap in actually lets both Frenzy Plants through, which means we can shield up and farm down and get switch advantage, and it's worth giving up a shield to keep Umbreon away from Medicham, especially in my opinion. I'm able to get to a Frenzy Plant before they can farm us down. Venusaur is super strong in Great League, guys. I do recommend you get one if you don't have one already. And now we've got Azumaril against the Medicham, which is a very nice position to be in. We're going to let this go through, even if it's a Psychic, which it is, just slightly less than half because we've got that XL bulk going on from this Azumaril. Throw the player off, they choose to shield it, and now we're up a shield. They might be weak to Azumaril as well in the back, since they're choosing to shield Medicham here. They're going to throw another Psychic, we're going to let it go through, we're going to see what they choose to bring in. We get to this player off, this will be enough to take out the Medicham, and hopefully Umbreon with a shield advantage can deal with whatever Pokemon they've got in the back, and it's a Bastiodon. Now, this is kind of a scary matchup. Bastiodon is so bulky, it does well against Umbreon. Not many Pokemon can outbulk Umbreon, but Bastiodon can. So, we've got a shield, which is great for us. We're going to shield up because there's no reason for them to bait. Both of their charge moves that they run, Flamethrower and Stone Edge, cost the same amount of energy. Stone Edge, it's harder, but there's no reason for them to throw Flamethrower, so we might as well use the shield. Now, what we're going to try and do is catch a charge move on Azumaril, just to preserve enough health on Umbreon to make sure we get enough foul plays off to take this thing out. And we do, we pull it off. It's fantastic. Generally, it's 7 smackdowns for them to get to a Stone Edge with Bastiodon. They do undercharge there actually and then farm us down, but the damage is done here. Even if they get to a Stone Edge here, it's not going to be enough to take us out now. We've got too much health left, and we're going to be able to spam these foul plays and deal with this Bastiodon and take this win against a Medicham lead, which is pretty tough, and then going down a shield to maintain switch advantage. GG to the opponent. Now, because these were our rank 19 battles, when you're at rank 19, you do 1 set of battles and then you automatically rank up to 20 and get your ELO rating. Doesn't matter if you win any games, you can lose all 5 games, you will still rank up from 19 to 20. And for every win you get a Go Battle League encounter. So we get Mienfoo, we get Frillish, that's pretty nice for us. Nice for those Candy, potentially getting some XLs from them towards building those XL Pokemon. Chinchou, we don't mind Chinchou and all that. But then we're gonna see what ranking we get. Alright, here we go. Boom! All the way up to 2336 as a starting ELO. That's fantastic. That means that when we do 1 more set of battles, we'll automatically hit Ace rank and we'll be more than halfway up towards Veteran rank already. That's fantastic. Love to see that kind of starting ELO. Absolutely brilliant for us. And now we're going to show you guys a few more battles with some terrible leads, and just showing how we'd get around them and how strong this team is in those negative situations. Alright, so in this matchup we get a Vigoroth lead, and that's an awful lead for Umbreon in general. The counter damage really does chip away. We get some nice lag at the start of the game, and we choose to safe swap Azumaril and get punished by a Nidoqueen, which is absolutely horrendous for us. We're getting hard countered on the lead and hard countered on the safe swap. And you can safe swap either Venusaur or Azumaril against Vigoroth. I think either's fine. I personally had a feeling that Venusaur would have more play in the back, so I decided to go with the Azumaril safe swap. And now we still get a shield out of them because the Ice Beam would have done monstrous damage and actually given us switch advantage even against the Nidoqueen. And now we're going to get to a foul play, take out this Nidoqueen straight away, and then as soon as the Vigoroth comes in, swap straight to Venusaur and see what it can do with the shield advantage. And this Vigoroth isn't swapping out straight away. And the good thing is that they want to stick this matchup out, is because we've got a shield advantage, we can comfortably win this situation because we're resisting the counters. We can survive 1 body slam pretty comfortably. The Vigoroth gets smashed to pieces by a Frenzy Plant, so we can take this body slam and then we can farm down. We actually have a Sableye in the back, so Lord knows why they didn't swap out straight away to Sableye when we brought in Venusaur, just to keep it away from Umbreon, but we're able to get a Frenzy Plant through. And as you can see, they've still got a shield, they've got some health on Vigoroth, and they're going to do some work with this Sableye. We're going to shield up because that could potentially have been a return, which would have been the hardest hitting charge move left in the game, so that was worthwhile as a shield. Excuse me, sorry. Even though it was a foul play, not a return, it's still fine. The body slams from Vigoroth aren't the main source of damage, and because we're able to farm down with Snarl, we've got all this energy to throw 2 foul plays to get both the shield, take them out and take the win. Even though we had a Vigoroth lead and a Nidoqueen counter swap against our Azumaril. Right, next matchup, and we've got a Medicham lead again. So same plan here as before, we say swap into Venusaur, preserve the Azumaril, and see what they want to do. This trainer chooses to swap in a Sableye into our Venusaur, and this is pretty good for us because we're ahead on energy, and the Frenzy Plant's going to hit like a truck, and Venusaur and Sableye get to Frenzy Plant and Foul Play respectively at the same pace. It's 6 fast moves for each to get to that move. I think once Sableye's thrown 2 Foul Plays, I think the third one might only be 5. Shadow Claws, I could be wrong on that, but that might be me miscounting from games where people have snuck Shadow Claws through. But I think in the long run they can outpace, but we're able to spam those Frenzy Plants. We've got Switch advantage and Shield advantage, and we've now got this Medicham locked down, potentially against Azumaril. We're not going to shield up because we know that we've got Azumaril to lock it down. When I throw this Frenzy Plant, they're actually able to catch this Frenzy Plant on a Stonefisk, which is fine for us. We've done big damage, we can just bring Umbreon in here. We're not going to shield Umbreon at all, even if they're throwing Earthquakes. We don't mind, we're just going to do what work we can, and then we just bring in Azumaril to hard lock down that Medicham, and this is already GG for us. It'd take some serious misplays or some serious lag to take this win away from us at this point. Just a quick side note with this team, if you do run into charm leads, I recommend you safe swap Azumaril and preserve the Venusaur, because Venusaur in the back will resist that charm damage. Maybe they'll be down shields. You can get to a Sludge Bomb, which against the fairies is going to hit for massive damage and put you in a very strong position. So let me know what you guys think of the team. I hope Season 10 so far is going well for you. I hope if you're getting your starting ELO, it's somewhere around where you want it to be, or you think it's a good jumping off point towards your goals for the season. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the button. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later if you decide that the content isn't for you. If you're already subscribed, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch you guys next time.